The Obsidian Road, Mercy, Severity, and a Woman's Will. Written by Mila Blumar Dunn III. The Meadow Breeze air freshener was an insult, its synthetic sweetness a parody of the manicured lawns and predictable lives surrounding Eliana. Tonight, she yearned not for artificial scents, but for the raw musk of leather, the smoldering tang of wood smoke, and the feral edge of freedom that scraped against the gilded bars of her existence. This craving led her to the town's forgotten edge, where moonlight turned an old motorcycle into a gleaming obsidian beast. Its owner, leaning against it, was the embodiment of everything her parents warned against. His eyes, like shards of polished onyx beneath the flickering street lamp, saw straight through her facade of comfortable mundanity. He radiated the intoxicating allure of rebellion, a rebellion she'd fought to cage with the brittle bars of her long-ignored dreams. His presence was a heady, terrifying potion. He was her own unacknowledged desire incarnate, the thrilling promise of escape from her stifling life, the reckless protagonist in one of those scandalous novels secretly devoured by her book club. Conversations with him were less about words and more about the insidious infusion of doubt. He offered no solutions, only questions sharp enough to echo the low, steady rumble of his bike. With him, the wind through her hair wasn't a gentle caress, but a howling chorus mirroring the burgeoning storm in her own soul. She was no longer the dutiful daughter, the prospective wife, the watercolorist of serene landscapes. Instead, she became a creature unfurled, a tangle of desperate want. Her blood thrummed with adrenaline, and the precipice of a life both magnificent and ruinous beckoned with each sunset ride. At her art exhibit, the watercolors felt like betrayals, like lies spun from pale pigments. Each well-meaning smile, including her mother's, only tightened the invisible noose around her neck. She glanced at him, expecting his usual quiet contempt for the tame, pleasant world on display. Instead, he shrugged. "This isn't you." The unspoken question crackled with tension. But where did she belong? Her laughter exploded, a jagged sound shattering the pretense. She wasn't mocking the attendees, but the stranger she saw reflected in their eyes. They saw her as wild, but her rebellious fire was far more subtle, far more dangerous. He wasn't about defying their world, but igniting the defiance smoldering in her own heart. His gift wasn't to offer her surrender to his brand of chaos, but to awaken the tempest already residing within her. Her sketchbook, once filled with placid scenes, now boiled with clashing figures and colors, bleeding into raw emotion. The artwork was alive with the terrifying beauty of her internal war, a battleground lit by the bonfire of her awakening. In the hazy light cast by that dying fire, he studied the frantic energy unleashed on the pages. "This isn't beauty," he declared, his voice rough and true. "This is the truth laid bare." Eliana trembled, a shiver of both fear and exhilaration. Her darkness no longer needed apologies, only the fearless, liberating strokes of her own hand. He vanished without drama, no fiery exit, just the fading scent of leather and gasoline upon the morning breeze. Was he a pillar of fire, guiding her from complacency, or a crutch for her own weakness? Did his dangerous allure set her free, or merely reveal the strength that had always smoldered within? Sunset still blazed, but now Eliana straddled her own bike, one long ignored for its unassuming size. Each ride was an escape, but a pilgrimage into the shifting landscape of her soul. Some days held epiphanies whispered by the wind. Others were filled with the piercing loneliness of forging a path without the seductive, distracting heat of his presence. Freedom, she learned, wasn't a destination on a map, but an unceasing struggle birthed within the crucible of self. Did she need him? No. But as those esoteric texts taught, sometimes the figure at the crossroads, beautiful or terrible, reveals not the path itself, but the heart of the one brave enough to choose. Mile by mile, Eliana was becoming her own pillar of untamed fire, forged on the shifting ground between mercy and severity, lit by the wild, unpredictable flame of her own awakened will.